My earliest memory is living on Meriwether Street. We had a small home, my parents' first home that they actually took out a mortgage on Meriwether Street. I was born while we were living there, and my two older sisters had already been born. When the state came in and built that road now that it leads into the 725, we were forced to move. The state bought that property from us, and we ended up buying a little home on Oasis Street where we all grew up. We attended Comal ISD there, and I went to Goodwin Elementary. I was one of the first students to go through the Goodwin Elementary School. I remember as a young child, my grandmother's husband was one of the helpers there, builders, and we would, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, Maria Garza, who was Gaitan. Maiden name was Gaitan. We would go and take his lunch at noon over to where it was Goodwin Elementary where he was working. My mom worked for years at what was then the old Mission Valley Textile Mill. She worked there a long time. My father also worked there early in, well, while they were, before they got married. He worked there, did some active duty service, came home, got a job there. My mom worked in the, I remember spools. She did something with spools. And I don't know what my dad did, but it's an interesting story because when they got married, January the 1st, they got married on New Year's Day, very, very cold, he said. He didn't show up to work the next day after they were married, and he got fired. So, but that wasn't a bad thing because after being fired from the Mission Valley Mills, he ended up working as civil service over at Randolph Air Force Base where he eventually retired from. So it ended up good anyway for them. My mom probably worked at the textile mill as far as I can remember. She eventually did retire from there. So the textile mill put a lot of food on the table for lots of families here in New Braunfels, including I worked there. My husband worked there. I think we all had a little stint at the Mission Valley Mills, which, as we know, ended up being bought out and eventually they closed. But lots of great memories there. I remember my mom didn't speak a lot of English, like a lot of people, Hispanics in New Braunfels. So I was her interpreter for many times. Our ritual on Thursdays when she got paid, we just lived within blocks of Mission Valley Mills there on Oasis Street. Get in the car on Thursdays, she'd go pick up her check. I went in there with her, pick up our check, go to the Guarantee State Bank. We'd go cash the check, and she had her little paper the night before where she would write how much everybody was going to get paid. There was a shoe store, Poll-Parrot, where we would buy our shoes, and like many places in New Braunfels, they do a little tab for you. And if we owed at Poll-Parrot, we went and paid in cash. She got her receipt, and we'd go down wherever she owed. One of the neatest things that I remember was the Pittman store right across from the textile mill. The Pittmans owned it. It was Mr. Pittman and his dad. I remember his dad worked the meat market part of the back. And he would run a tab for all the textile mill workers. It was right across. They'd get whatever they needed during the week, their snacks, their lunch, whatever, and he'd run a tab. And when they got paid on Thursday, they'd cash their check there and they'd pay whatever their tab was. I was always really little bitty for my age. And Mr. Pittman seemed like this huge man to me. So when we'd go and pay our tab, every week he'd pick me up, he'd put me over the candy shelf, and he'd say, pick whatever candy you want. I'd walk out of there with a bag of candy. Nicest people you could ever meet. So my mom had 2 more children after me, so they knew the Laras. So the tradition was when my mom had the children and she would go and show them off to Mr. Pittman, He'd open their little hand and he would put a silver dollar in their hand. And my mom still has those silver dollars. For my sister, who is now 50 plus, and my brother. So she still has those silver dollars that Mr. Pittman put in their little hands when they were little. So those kinds of things, and then just the things that happened downtown, the Brauntex. Oh God, that was like Saturday afternoon entertainment. The thing I remember most about when I was older, you know, it's about 64, I was 10 years old, the Beatles. Hard Day's Night comes. Oh God, couldn't wait to go see Hard Day's Night at the Brauntex. Saw that, probably saw it 3 times. And just walking with my cousins, our friends, we go to Woolworth, we get a drink, we just look around downtown, and it was a safe place to go. You walked from home to town or rode your bike, and it was no big deal to do those things. You know, we have some good memories about downtown and the Brauntex and things we used to do when we were younger. The Brauntex always reminds, my most vivid is going to see Hard Day's Night. I was about 10 years old. I probably saw the movie 3 times. I love that. That was our Saturday afternoon entertainment. We'd walk downtown, went to Woolworth, sit at the counter, order what we wanted to order, and just shop. And then you had all your shops, Bruner's, clothing store, Poll-Parrot, shoe store, Connie shoe store, Henny Hardware still there, Penny's, J.C. Penney's. That was the place to shop for us, for our clothing. There was Peerless Pharmacy. Oh, Winn's. Oh my goodness, who can forget Winn's? The smell of popcorn as soon as you walked in with your icy. As a matter of fact, I was putting up my Christmas tree this week, and I have a tradition. I always buy the Hallmark ornament every year, and I put it next to the first ornament my husband and I ever had. When we got married, we didn't have a lot of money. I went to Winn's, and I bought a little paper ornament, and I still have it. So I put my new ornament with my paper ornament every year just to remind us how far we've come. So that's neat too. Remember the Tower Drive-In? Oh God, I had forgotten all about that one. The Tower Drive-In was right there where it, on Highway 81, where is now, I don't even know what it is.
It's the big shopping center that's kind of empty, right?
Yes. The Tower Drive-In, that was the big place to go. You know, like everybody else, you put all these people in the trunk of the car and you just paid and went in. On Wednesdays, they used to have Mexican night, and they would show the old Mexican movies. Yeah, I remember that. I just thought about it when I was talking about movies. I remember doing that. My grandma lived on Merriweather Street. Her house is still there. And Kino's, yeah, they sold bait, tackle, and men hung out and drank beer there. We used to go and buy ice cream cones. Weem's grocery store was right there where it's now the, it's a restaurant now. It used to be Weem's, W-E-E-M-S, little tiny family-run grocery store, kind of like Pittman's, that used to be there. And you know where they sell it's called a Wildflower Barn? If you cross the bridge over the Guadalupe and you look to your right, if you're going from where the... yes. And as soon as you cross, you look to your right, you have all these little ornaments and things, the Wildflower Barn. That used to be Central Freight. They had 18-wheelers, you know, because there was a freight company, and they were all lined up. I remember you could see that. And where it's now Sears, that used to be like a little restaurant. It was like a dairy. I remember going and buying ice cream there. It was like a little restaurant. And then it was a disco back in the 80s. Don Lorenzo's. I remember that. Don Lorenzo. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, Don Lorenzo's. It was a little disco back in the 80s. Old Bossy on Castell Street. We went and bought our milk there, and they had the best ice cream. They had a counter. You could sit there and order burgers, ice cream. That was a cool place. we went to San Antonio to the Pearl Brewery, and they had a little ice cream shop there. And I looked up, and there was an old bossy jug sitting there, and the lady wouldn't sell it to me. I wanted it. And my husband, look what's up there. And I said, would y'all sell that? And she goes, no. That's one in a million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, post office. Oh, wow, I love the post office. And when we go to McAdoo, I still remember going up those stairs, because I was so tiny, and going up those stairs, and I remember all that stuff, and standing in line and getting your penny stamp and all of that. It was neat. That was a neat experience. And then the Winn's next to across the street. Everybody loved to go to Winn's. God, New Braunfels Utilities was right in the corner, and you went and you paid there. Southwestern Bell, that was another stop. Once a month we go pay our phone bill there. The Southwestern Bell was on San Antonio and Comal Street.
Okay.
Going to the park and swimming. My grandmother's husband would take us. In the little swimming area, the key where the big block of cement is, I love that place. I mean, that was the best place. I remember I lost a ring there that my Aunt Dora gave me, and I was so sad. And every time I go by there, I think about that ring, because I looked and looked for it. But we go there swimming, or wading, and it's growing too fast. I think we're just losing that sense of small community that everybody says we want to keep. But after a certain time, it just, you let it go, and it just continues to grow, and you can't stop it. I think my biggest fear, like most of New Braunfels, is the fear of losing that sense of that small community that people say, we moved here because, and everybody's moving here because of the sense of small community, but after a while, the traffic is horrendous. I remember getting our first stoplight over on the other side of the Comal Bridge, the Guadalupe Bridge on this side when we got our first flight. That was a big thing. Our first McDonald's on this side. Because for a long time, everything, the majority of business was on the other side of Guadalupe. We started, when we moved to Oasis Street, there was hardly anything but the school there. Smokehouse was there. Where the smokehouse is was not where it originally was. It was across where that hotel now is in Montana Mike's.
Oh.
That's where the original smokehouse was, and after school we'd walk there and we'd pick up some candy and stuff and walk down the hill to the house. There was an old store called Frelick's too. Right where the Valero is now, there was a little store called Frelick's. Was it Frelick's? I think. And we'd stop there and get candy and then walk. But there was not much more than when McDonald's came. Wow, that was big. Pizza Hut came. It was big. I'd never eaten a pizza till I got married. I'd never eaten a frozen pizza until I got married. You know, so Super Dog Drive-In, that's where we used to go. That would be our treat as a family. We didn't have a lot of money, but my mom would splurge, and we'd go to Super Dog. We'd place our order to go, and we'd order our burgers and fries, and we'd get a gallon of root beer. That was big. Super Dog, and I'm going to try to think, I think it's a dry cleaners now. It used to be right across from the Tower Drive-In. Super Dog. They had a little picture of a dog up there. And you could go in, and they had places you could sit and eat. So Super Dog. And then just like next block was a Triangle Drive-In. And it's right, they do taxes there now. It's just like a little triangle, like a little piece. And there was just one little building there, and it was a triangle. And it was kind of the same thing, a burger place. You could go and eat. And then who can forget Sip and Sup? Oh, that broke my heart when they tore that down. In San Antonio, and they knocked it down. We always were on the phone there. And on the phone booth at the Sip and Sup, we were always on the phone, way before cell phones.
Yes.
You know. So yeah, it's a lot of good memories here, and it's just nice to be able to share them. And everybody's perspective of what they remember and how they remember is different, but that's how I remember that.